Okay, it's 3 o'clock, and we are ready to begin. Welcome here to the City of Horseshoe Bay City Council, November 10th. And I am Jeff Jones. I'm going to be the Mayor Pro Tem for about 3 minutes. And then we're going to have some swearing in that occurs from our municipal judge, Judge Madison, who I'm glad to see is here today. And as we typically do, I'm going to ask that our invocation be given by Jean Glazer, I believe it is.
Dear Father, thank you so much for the wonderful, cool day that makes us quickly forget about summer. Thank you so much for the change of seasons and for just the way it continues to remind us of the way you're in control of this universe. You're in control of your will and things being accomplished. We thank you so much for city government, like we get to experience today, and for these people serving with their time and abilities in a way to help this community to thrive and to prosper. We pray, Father, that you'll continue to give them wisdom and discernment in the decisions that they make, and that they'll be ones that will bring glory and honor to you. We thank you so much for the opportunity to live in this beautiful area, and we thank you so much for your Son. In his name we pray. Amen.
Okay, I wanted to remind everyone that if you intend to speak today on a matter, you need to sign in. And when we do speak, we're going to, because of time limitations, limit everyone, except for applicants, of course, to 3 minutes. And we'll let you know when that 3 minutes is up. And we will do that only if you've signed up. So if it's on the agenda item, I am going to wait till we get to the agenda item to allow you to speak. Otherwise, you can speak on anything that pertains to the community during our public comment section, which will be coming in just a few minutes. And the first item of business we have is the swearing in of new candidates / elected officials. And Judge Madison is going to do that, or do you have a list of which ones you want to do first, Judge Madison? All right.
swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office
of the office
of council member for the city of Horseshoe Bay, Texas,
of council member for the city of Horseshoe Bay, Texas,
of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and of this state,
and this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Reuben had a collection too. He was This is one of those Citizen Academy graduates that went to a committee and now is on the president. Really appreciate all the work that you do.
Watch out, Willie.
Frank's been here. This is your third time, and Frank has been really instrumental in getting our internet to our community. We really appreciate all of it.
And Judge Madison, we want to thank you for being with us today and gracing us with your presence and your swearing in.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Our second item of announcements is for a staff recognition. And Jeff, are you going to do that, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's my honor to introduce Officer Jacob Nobles. He comes to us from the Llano County Sheriff's Department office, where he served Llano County for nearly 5 years. He has a bachelor's degree in behavioral science and has an intermediate peace officer certification with the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement. Jacob lives in the town of Marble Falls. Thank you for joining us, Jacob.
Jacob, welcome. Congratulations, and you're with a good group of guys over there. Thank you for protecting us.
Now you have to learn the streets.
Yeah. You live on high there, or hello? All right, we want to now go to our public comment section, which is your opportunity to present anything that is on your heart or gives you heartburn, one of the two. And it's going to be limited to 3 minutes. If you're on the agenda items, which I think everybody is, then we're going to take you when we get to the agenda items. So I don't see anybody on public comment unless they've failed to sign this. Okay. We're going to go on now to our information for presentations. And we have some presentation by some applicants for two of our boards, the Board of Adjustment and the P&Z Board, I believe.
Yes, Bear, this is our annual process of selecting folks for our committees, and these two committees, P&Z and Board of Adjustments, has some positions open, so we have some candidates that came in. There's no action for the council today. We will do that in the December meeting in December 9th. And so this gives the opportunity to the applicants to come and present their case of why they wanted to be on the board, and the council to hear them and ask questions.
Great. Thank you very much. The first one we have is Sam Lee, who is our P&Z applicant. Mr. Lee.
Mayor, council members, I didn't realize all these people were going to turn out just to hear me speak. I guess. I am here to apply for a 2-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm a resident of Horseshoe Bay and a practicing estate planning and probate attorney with an office on 2147. For the last 3 years, I've served on the Planning and Zoning Commission. The first year that I served was because someone dropped off, and so I took care of the remainder of their 1-year term. And then I served a full 2-year term, and I served as chairman during those 2 years. I can tell you that The last 3 years have been very enjoyable. It's been very educational. It's been a great opportunity to get to know some of the builders and developers and to see some of the things that come before planning and zoning before they come to you. And I think everyone that's on the Planning and Zoning Commission understands that we're basically a screening process so that we give you some idea if there are any problems of the things that come before us. If we pass it, then that's a good thing. If we don't, or we raise a lot of questions, or there's a great deal of discussion, then that kind of tells you that maybe you need to look into it a little bit further. But if I'm, first of all, I didn't think that I was going to be able to apply for another 2-year term because I was told that you can only have 2 different terms, and because I served 1 year, I thought that would apply against me, and then I was told that it didn't, and so that's why I'm applying again for another 2-year term. If I'm not approved, I just want to say that I've really enjoyed being on the commission for the last 3 years. As I said, it's been very educational, and I've learned a lot. And I want to make sure that I thank Sandra Nash. I think she was in here. There you are, Sandra. Sandra and everybody with the city does a fantastic job of bringing to us the information that we have to decide on the things that come before us. And we really appreciate them. If I am accepted for another 2 years, I will assure you of every effort to do the job that planning and zoning is supposed to do and to do it in the best manner possible. I'm happy to answer any questions if any of you have one.
Thank you for your service so far, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Sam, thank you very much. I've been to several of the meetings that Sam has presided in, and I'm going to tell you, these folks, they're just like us. They're just volunteers, but they gumshoe what they're doing, and they bring us the facts, and we really appreciate it. And most of them are graduates of our Citizens Academy. They see how the city runs, and it means a whole lot to the city and to us for you to do your service, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. And for planning and zoning, we also have Willie Reinders. I know. And somebody called you Rinder the other day. Is that correct too?
Correct.
Wow. So it's really Reinders.
It is really Reinders.
Okay. I'm going to remember that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Willie Reinders. In December, I'm Willie Reindeers. Okay? So before I get into my few words, I wanted to kind of hitchhike on the fact of my last name. Many years ago, during my misspent youth, I lived for 5 years in Alaska. And when I first showed up to work in Alaska, the man that picked me up at the airport in Fairbanks, I introduced myself to him, and he said, "Son, there are no reindeers in Alaska. From now on, you're going to be Willie Caribou." So for 5 years, I was Willie Caribou. Now that I will hold against you if you carry that forward. Thank you all, to the mayor, to the council, to all the staff that are represented here. Thank you for being here and for allowing me some time to kind of reintroduce myself. I've lived in Horseshoe Bay now for 5 years. I've been retired for 15 and spent the prior years in Sunrise Beach on the other side of the lake. So we moved to the south side of the lake 5 years ago. And I was involved with city politics and planning and zoning in Sunrise Beach. And as soon as I was able to find a way of entering that same regime within Horseshoe Bay, I took it. And it began with some committee work. I spent some time on the Board of Adjustment. I spent time with the Land Use and Development Committee. And I have been active on planning and zoning for the past year. And I would like very much to continue that. I enjoy the role. As Sam said, I really could have walked up and just said ditto to what he said, because he did a really good job of summarizing where I feel that I am with regard to the city and this role. I thank you all for the opportunity, and I do hope you see fit to let me continue to struggle my way forward.
Willie, thank you so much for serving our city and for coming up today. We also have Board of Adjustments applicant, and it's going to be Michael Appleby, who has been an alternate, and there is at least one opening, I think maybe more than one. But Michael, give us your lowdown.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for allowing me to be here. I've served for the last 2 years as an alternate member on the Board of Adjustment, and I'm looking to serve as a regular member on the Board of Adjustment. My wife and I have lived here in Horseshoe Bay now for 4 years, but we've been visiting here for approximately 18, with my in-laws retiring here from Memphis, Tennessee. So Horseshoe Bay has had a big place in our heart for a long time, and I've appreciated the role as an alternate on the Board of Adjustment to date, but would like to be more actively involved in that. And I think this is a good role for me to help out with.
It sure is, and I'd like to add, Michael, that you are a graduate of Citizens Academy with somebody up here, aren't you?
I am.
Actually, two of us up here.
Too, yeah.
He's,
Yeah, we had a
he-
good time.
He went to Citizens Academy with Mr. Morgan and myself, and we had a stellar class.
We had a very good class that year, yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Appleby? Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We're going to move now, and we're not going to take action on this until next month because we may have some additional applicants during the period of time. So we've got your applications and your resumes on file, and we will decide on those at the appropriate time. So thank you all for showing up. We're going to move now to our, I think, Molly Jester. Fiscal year 2025 fourth quarter financial report. Molly?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I do have a handout for you in case you can't read your agenda packet. All right, so the first page is the general fund revenue analysis, and this is for the entire fiscal year 25, so we're done. And if you look down at the bottom, the total revenues for the general fund, we exceeded our projections, so that's a great thing. And if you look just individually, we either exceeded or we were down a little bit. And that's it for the revenue for the general fund. The next page is the expenditures. Again, it's a complete year. And if you look down at the bottom, we had 12 million actual, 17 million budget, so we're at 70, almost 71%. And the main thing is this bottom line right here are transfers. They haven't been spent yet. And when I talk about budget amendments carry forwards, that will be expounded on. But good job on our expenditures. You can tell if it went over, it was just a little bit, or they were pretty much in the 90% percentile. So great job with the general fund. The next page is our capital expenditures for the general fund. And if you go down to the total, we're 743 actual to 903 budget, so we're at 82%. You will see this last line makes up the majority of it. And that's basically our transportation plan. And again, when I talk about carry forward, because we didn't spend it all, this will be expounded on. But again, good job for everyone involved. The utility fund revenue analysis. Again, for a full year, if you look down at the bottom, our total is 18 million compared to 19 million. So we're about at 94%. Revenue is down a little bit, but when I turn the page, you'll see expenditures are also down, so it's a net good. So good job on the utility fund, revenue, and expenditures. The next, even though it's tiny print, is all the projects that are going on with the utility fund. If you look down at the bottom, you'll see some zeros or some low percents within the building improvement, the sewer, and the water. Again, these are projects that are multi-year, and they'll be carried over. So I'll discuss that later in more detail. Next is our capital fund revenue. This is where our bonds come in. We had a bond come in this year. You look all the way down at the bottom for the entire fiscal year, we're about 7 million compared to 11 million, so we're at 58%. However, if you look at this one line, it's kind of what is making that go down so much. This is our transfer general fund. And again, just anything that hasn't come in yet. If you recall, looking at the general fund expenditures, there was a big variance. These net to zero actually by the city. And again, it'll be discussed when I talk about carry forwards. The last page is the capital fund expenditures. If you look down at the bottom, we're 18 million compared to 25 million. You can tell the city center, our fire station, those are not complete yet. Also the transfers. So again, it's a good job done on the capital fund. So overall, fiscal year 25 was very strong financially. The revenues were either down a little bit, but it was offset by expenses being down or revenue exceeded. So it was an excellent job done by all the departments. I'd like for everyone to stand up who worked on the budget for fiscal year 25 because you did a great job.
Stand up.
All right.
All right, so are there any questions? Again, it was a good year. And
And the way you explain this to me, Molly, for the 10th time actually, is that most of these are simply allocations that we've made for capital, the big items for capital expenditures that weren't completed in those years, and so you push them to the next year and the next year and the next year. They've been allocated, but when they're not taken out until they're expended, correct?
that is correct. You'll see carry forwards in the budget, and that's why you'll see some of the line items, they're not at 100%. They're going to be carry forward to fiscal year 26.
Does anybody else have any questions for Molly? Molly, we're going to hear from you again in a few minutes, so don't go anywhere.
Okey dokey.
Okay.
Pardon me, Mr. Mayor, will you please excuse my interruption, sir, kindly? I missed the public comments, and I have a very important announcement for the community. If you would just allow me one moment, please. It is out of order, but it's really important. I'm with the U.S. Small Business Federal Government Disaster Recovery Team, and we have a November 27th critical deadline for the July flood survivors, and that's really all I wanted to say.
I love recovering from disasters. Give us that. I'm going to bend the rules.
Please excuse me kindly. There's
Can you
just one-
state your name?
To the microphone.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. My name's Anita Steenson, and I'm with the U.S. Small Business Administration Disaster Recovery Team. And I'm here just simply to take a moment to announce that the U.S. Small Business Administration has recovery resources for homeowners, which is a little different to associate the Small Business Administration with homeowners and renters, as well as businesses and nonprofits. And we have a critical deadline of November 27th. And that's coming up real soon, Your Honor, and the community. And I did want to let you know that your community is eligible, and that it doesn't need to be catastrophic damages, sir, and to the community. And that's what I'm finding as I'm going around to communities. Your house, it doesn't need to be your house, but God forbid it was your home. Even if it's just your outbuildings and your landscaping. I spoke to a woman this weekend. I was at a big event for the North Lake Chamber of Commerce, and a woman told me that her entire yard was destroyed and she had to build a retaining wall because it was impacting the side of her foundation, and she took out a loan for almost 9 or 10%. And now our loans are 2.1.8%, ladies and gentlemen, and that's for homeowners and renters. And you are eligible for that. That's
Thank you.
physical damage.
Thank you
I'm
very
gonna
much.
just
Why don't
read
you
some
leave it right
literature.
there, and anybody
Thank
who's
you very
interested can
much.
bring one up. Thank you
Thank
for.
you.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
we're going to move to public hearing now. And our first public hearing is on consideration and recommendation to the City Council of an application for approval of the Lake Church at Horseshoe Bay final subdivision plat. And this is, we've already accepted the preliminary plat, and I'm going to open the public hearing at 3:26 right now, and Rick Williams is going to give us the lowdown on this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Jones, council, residents. So what we have, as the mayor said, we have a request for final plat for the Lakeview Church, as it's called. Sandra's with me, so if I fumble something, if she pinches me, I missed something. But so what this is pretty straightforward. It's a request for approval of a final plat to accommodate the development of Lake Church at Horseshoe Bay. The church received zoning approval in November of 2024 and Board of Adjustment relief in March 2025 to build a larger sanctuary than otherwise permitted by the ordinance. You'll notice this is a little bit hard to read, but there are 3 lots that I'm going to refer to. So Lot 2 of the proposed development, that's this one here, includes a 29,490 square foot church building with sanctuary, fellowship hall, lobby, classrooms, nurseries, office, kitchen, and 186 parking spaces. That is just shy of 7 acres. Lot 1 includes the required water quality improvements for phase one, plus future additional parking for 83 vehicles to be constructed as phase 2. The development also includes a private street called Living Water Way, ending in a fire code compliant roundabout. The unusual property, so this one does have a little bit of an unusual circumstance. It has a lot 3 back here, or track 3. So the unusual property configuration with the intervening track 3 ensures compliance with emergency vehicle access requirements and subdivision regulations. What's interesting about this is what we call locally as the Stonehouse tract. It is addressed off of 2147. When this plat comes in, they had to change their address, and then they were landlocked. So there was a access easement essentially provided. Correct? Access easement? All right. I'm learning a little bit. Make sure I use the right terminology.
Where's the access easement?
It is down Living Waterway. So it
Okay.
ends here, and then
So
this
it
is
continues past the cul-de-sac.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I believe, the cul-de-sac ends here, and then this is their easement. They were allowed to that. So during the October 21st meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission, this application was unanimously recommended for approval with no additional conditions. Staff have reviewed and approved the construction documents. We have also received the fiscal security in form of bond for the public improvements and confirmed that the final plat meets the requirements for approval. I have the condition. I do believe there's somebody from the applicant is here if council has questions for them.
Okay, thank you, Rick.
Yes, sir.
For the applicant, Reverend Glazer.
Be careful how you use that word. We're just so excited, as you can imagine. We just appreciate so much. Sandra Nash is going into disability on our behalf, working so hard with all the city staff, and for Rick's stepping in, Jeff, our past mayor, the whole city council. We're excited to have this building constructed. We're excited for the joint use that the community and the church can have with this facility, and we're excited about those possibilities, and just appreciate the opportunity to have a place of worship for those who are seeking such.
Right.
our civil engineers here if you have more specific questions.
We probably don't, but I do want to say, your elevation picture was in our packet. It's a beautiful-looking building.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful
We're
looking
excited.
building. Really
Yes.
is. So, yeah, go to that, Rick, if you can.
I don't think we have it in the slides.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No, sir.
Well, I saw it.
Sorry.
Thank
Very
you so
nice.
much.
All right, so council, y'all have any questions of the applicant or of Rick?
Just the only Rick, where is the
Yes, sir.
entrance on 2147?
It is right here. It is
Is that
roughly equivalent to where it is now,
where the stone house is?
right in front of Stone
Right
House.
across from Bay Country.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing now at 3:30, and I'll entertain a motion, which I think is on page 16 for this.
I move to approve this final plat as presented by the applicant and staff.
Motion.
Second.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Morgan, second by Councilmember Hosea. Any discussion on this? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations. Final plat. We're going to move now to a public hearing on the consideration and recommendation to the city council on application for approval of Silver Rock preliminary plat. If we can get, was that be you, Rick?
That'll be me again. Yes, sir.
Stay up there.
I know.
What do you got?
Did you open the public hearing?
No, I did not, but thank you, Rick.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to open this public hearing at 3:31.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, Council, residents. So, yeah, me again. So with Sandra out, I had to do a lot of these in planning and zoning and this, so I'm very glad she's back. But you'll hear from me a little bit more today. So the applicant is Modern Homestead. They're requesting consideration of their preliminary plat for the above-mentioned property. The request consists of 8 residential lots of roughly 5 acres each, 3 commercial lots, and around 1,800 linear feet of new private roadway. The original concept plan was for 28 lots of about 1 acre in average. That was in the original Silver Rock that we heard sometime last year. The original preliminary plat for this area was approved in 2023 and consisted of single-family lot and 3 commercial lots to be subdivided later with frontage along Highway 71. This current request includes a minor change of the commercial lot lines to accommodate the new private street being added. The planned development agreement for this subdivision has been amended to allow this new access. So since it was a minor amendment, it was able to be performed administratively. And this is the roadway we're referencing. So here's the main loop, and then this roadway will be added in here.
Where's the roadway again? Right there, okay, right off the main loop.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This is the Falcon
Yes,
track right
yes.
there. During the October 21st meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission, this application was unanimously recommended for approval with no additional comments. Staff believes this request is in the spirit of the intent for this subdivision and meets the community's desire for less density and larger single-family lots. The LCRA and tech stop permits have been approved, and staff has received no public objection to this request. Staff is in support of this being recommended for approval. And-
Planning and zoning approve this unanimously?
Yes, sir, with no comments. And as the last one, the applicant is here as well, if y'all have questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions of Rick before we get to the applicant?
I do. Well, it's probably to both Ricks. When will TxDOT make the changes to the entrances?
That is yeah, that's, yes, sir.
Rick, can you state your name for the record?
Rick Town, Modern Homestead. There are no changes. That's a maximum. That entrance to the Silver Rock Loop, the loop road, is maximized without the only thing they could add is a stoplight, but they're not going to do it.
I know that, but will there be a turning right? I thought there was-
Decel lane.
Yeah, there is a decel lane into that main loop, yes.
That's what I thought. I just want to confirm that. I remember you said that the last time. Okay, that's it.
Rick, while you're up there, you want to talk about it anymore?
It's just one of those projects that I really loved, mainly because they're large acreage lots, going to be luxury ranchettes. beautiful entryway with ponds and fountains and cool stuff. So the more we, get into the infrastructure and the amenities, I think when people, as you go through that oasis of the trees, you can't see anything, and then you come upon the entrance to the project off to your left and then up to the venue on the right. I think it's just a great setting. I've seen it before in other states, but it's rare, so pretty excited about it.
And each one of these lots is about 5 acres apiece, isn't it?
Correct, yes.
Love that.
And they're beautiful. There's no rock under it. It's all loam. There's huge oak trees, creeks, ponds. It's pretty cool, so.
Great, great. Any other questions for Rick or Rick? Our Rick or their Rick?
Hey, Rick.
Okay, then I am going to close the public hearing at 3:35 on this and entertain a motion.
I move to approve this final plat as presented by the applicant and staff.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Weatherby, second by Council.
Mayor, I apologize. It's a preliminary plat.
Yeah, it is a preliminary plat.
What is a preliminary? Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. When it
You wanna
gets to
change
the
your
final,
motion?
circle back around.
Can you change your motion?
So make it a preliminary? Okay. I move to approve the preliminary plat as presented by the applicant and staff.
Okay, motion to approve the preliminary plat by Councilmember Weatherby. Do I hear a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Fetchner. Any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. No? All right. It passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
We're going to go now to the, I'm going to close this. I've already closed it, haven't I? I'll close it again. Okay, we're going to go now to the business portion of our agenda. And we are going to first take up the annual appointment of the mayor pro tem. This is an appointment that comes obviously once a year and goes to someone who can fill in the event the mayor is incapacitated or out of the area. So I wanted to suggest my friend Mr. Larry Morgan as the mayor pro tem. It will take a motion and a vote by the council, but he's been on the council now for over 2 years. He is a CPA, and he can certainly help me with understanding the budget, I'm sure. He's a liaison for the police and the fire and for the financial with Molly as well. So he's a busy guy. And I would like somebody to make a motion that we accept Mr. Morgan as our mayor pro tem.
I move to appoint Councilmember Larry Morgan as mayor pro tem.
Motion to accept by Councilmember Fetchner. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Waddell. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All no, no. Okay. Congratulations, sir. All right. We are now going to have our annual appointment of 2 council members. Are you going to handle that for us?
Yes, sir. I was going to read out. In January 2018, the city council created a subcommittee named Public Funds for Purposes, a subcommittee which is given the task of reviewing each request for funding received by the city from outside entities. Each year in November, 2 council members are appointed to 1-year terms to serve on the subcommittees. Currently, Elaine Waddell, council member, and Larry Morgan are appointed on the subcommittee back in 1994, 2024, sorry. So it's up to y'all to choose who would like to be on that committee.
I would suggest that we dance with the person that brung us to the dance, because they've been doing a great job on this, and they identify needy areas that this can go to, and they've done a great job. So I would suggest that we keep Councilmember Morgan and Waddell on this.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Can you make a motion?
I did, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if the mayor could make a motion.
You want to vote?
Yes, yes, I vote yes.
All right, good. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you all for serving. We're going to move now to budget amendments. Molly Jester, now we get into the weeds of this thing.
All right, good afternoon, Mayor and Council again. I do have a handout that I gave y'all. We're going to approve ordinance 2026-02. It's adopting the final budget amendments for fiscal year 25. One of the first things that happens when the auditors come in is they look at our budget by line item to see if anything exceeded. So at the end of the year, the finance department makes entries to ensure that all revenue and expense budget amounts are higher than the actual revenue and expense. In your attachment, or in your handout 36 through 43, there is a column that's highlighted in yellow. And that represents the one in your packet, a trial balance as of 10/27. The one I handed out is through 11/7, as we've made some year-end audit entries since the packet. And just please note that we're not completely done with audit entries, so there could be additional entries that may come through, but they should be just routine, small adjustments. So if you look at your handout, there's about 5 or 6 pages of literally every general ledger account that's a revenue or expense. And looking at what we had through 11/7 and what our budget is, and then doing a budget amendment to where every budget item exceeds actual.
So we're basically truing up budget and what we actually spent, right?
That is correct.
And just a clarification, most of this is either $11 or $10 differentiation?
I just did a formula all the way down.
Okay. Kind of interesting. Any questions for Molly? Okay, I'll entertain a motion that we approve 2026-01. It's on page 35 if anybody wants to make that.
I move to approve ordinance 2026-01, approving and adopting an amendment to all the budgeted funds for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024, and ending September 30th, 2025. As detailed in Exhibit A, we further recommend authorizing the city manager and finance director to make any additional routine budget amendments resulting from the completion of the September year-end closing process.
Motion by Councilmember Morgan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Councilmember Hosea with a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
The ayes have it. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Now we're going to go to ordinance 2026-02, which is our amendment to the budgeted funds for this fiscal year, correct?
That is correct. So the first budget amendments for fiscal year 26, staff is recommending for the following funds: utility fund, the general fund, the Summit Rock PID fund, the Court Technology and Security Fund, the Impact Fee Fund, and the Capital Fund. These entries are necessary to, as I mentioned in the financial statement presentation, to carry forward amounts that haven't been spent or received. And there are a couple of just fiscal year 26 budget amendments, cost adjustments. There's 2 exhibits, A and B. And again, this was based off of, in your packet, which is page 47 to 49, a trial balance through 10/27. The one I have handed out, which is in big paper, is through 11/7/25. So if you want to look at that, Exhibit A.
Which one are we on now?
First page.
First page, okay.
Exhibit A of the big handout.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So there's just a couple of true fiscal year 26 amendments that are not carried forward, and those are on Exhibit A. The first one is we bought an excavator and we had a trade-in of 20,000, so we just need to gross up the asset, the expenditure, and report the gain on the trade-in, so it nets to 0. The second one relates to the police department, had an anonymous donation come in for a future employee police academy, and what is required will be spent for their uniforms, bullets, and the training itself.
Training in what?
The training.
Okay.
The next relates to our insurance with TML. If you recall, we did a full-blown audit of all of our values due to the chemical accident. And that increased our payment to TML by about $56,000. That's on lines 13 and 14. And when I discussed it in the August 26th workshop, there was an estimate about $60,000. You should be aware of it. And then the next two lines were workers' comp came in under budget. The last line is the Horseshoe Bay POA. It is currently over budget. If you look to the right in the comments in column K, we are going to go with their run rate for fiscal year 22, 23, 24, and 25 of about $660,000. For the utility fund, for Exhibit A, it nets to about $40,000. For the general fund, those are in blue. They net to about $42,000. So a total of $82,000 will affect this year's budget, and that will pull from surplus. Are there any questions on just those?
Just
Yeah,
just
go
a
ahead.
statement. I think it's important to recognize that after the chemical spill, when we started pursuing the insurance, we found out that we were grossly underpaying for insurance. We did not have everything that should have been identified. So that's the reason for this big adjustment.
Yes, yes. It's similar to what we do at our houses. We insure them in 1990 and then don't look at the values again until we have a loss in 2025 and realize that we were grossly underinsured because we enjoyed the rate that we got back in 1990.
Right.
So that's exactly what happened. Molly, does this take into consideration also the flood insurance that we talked about? That's
That
on a
does
different
not.
line item.
Yeah, that does not. That will be a separate discussion.
Okay, okay. All right, any other questions for Molly?
Why wouldn't our insurance person notify us that we're under, my insurance guy never hesitates to call and say, you are underinsured, we're gonna have to bump it up, just to let you know, okay. Why isn't he looking out for our better?
I'll take a swag at that. It was a case where they increased insurance on what assets we had listed, but we didn't list all the assets like generator pumps. I've learned more on this thing than I ever wanted to know, but a lot of it was stuff that we hadn't identified. Ray and his team went through and did a complete audit
That's right.
of all the stuff, and half of it wasn't insured, ever.
And also, it was also underinsured.
And
The
either
values had
underinsured or
increased.
not insured at all. So we've now corrected that.
And going forward, we need to make sure we have some process
Yeah.
in place to make sure that we have an audit, an internal audit every so often for new equipment that we get in, and
That's right. That's
Molly's made aware of that.
Molly.
Everybody's made aware of that.
right. Across the board, and that was our, kind of a wake-up call when we had our accident, and we started looking at some of the things. There was a few things, even though we had them listed in the total value, they really required them to be separate line items for those. And so we had to argue with some of those, and we realized that we weren't doing it in the best way and so we took a lot of their advice and had them come out and help us with the audit and really kind of give us a lesson. And it was a pretty common factor that most cities go through the same thing. And until they have a disaster, and so we kind of put it on a schedule every 5 years. And we have a Molly. She's
Yeah,
really good.
we do have a Molly. And we've got I want to give kudos also to Ray, who explained that to me, that he literally took bolts apart, he says, and looked at those to make sure they're covered. So that's a really big item, and it took a lot of manpower to do that. We appreciate it.
Well, and our insurance jumped $56,000, but at least we're insured now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, any other questions for Molly?
That's Exhibit A. Exhibit B is the next couple of pages, which is all the carry forwards. I'm not going to go through every one of them. But for instance, like in utilities, the wastewater plant engineering fees on line 11 through 13. The high zone transmission main that's still going on. The transportation plan. You look at the next page, the city center, that's in lines 80, 81, the fire station number 2. We've got streets, we've got seal coating. All of those are multi-year projects, and so what we do is we compare where the budget was for '25 and what was spent, and then that difference is carry forward to fiscal year '26. All of these will be supported by their beginning cash or fund balance. It's kind of like your checking book. You cut it off every year. You didn't spend $10,000, but the next year you want to. You better hope it's in your beginning cash, but that is where it is. So that's the concept. It should all be covered. If there are any questions, it's a lot of information, but
Well, actually, I think you were kind enough to meet with all of us at different times and explain this,
Yes.
and it helped quite a bit.
So I don't ask a bunch of questions.
So this isn't the first time we've heard it.
Yeah.
okay.
Any other questions? I will entertain, are we done yet? Okay. I will entertain a motion then on approving and adopting the amendment to the budgeted funds for this fiscal year. It's on page 52, I believe. No, it's on page 46.
46.
I move to approve ordinance 2026-202, approving and adding an agreement to the budgeted funds for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025, and ending September 30th, 2026. As detailed by Exhibit A and B, we further recommend the city manager and finance director make any additional routine budget amendments resulting from the completion of the September year-end closing process.
I second.
Motion by Councilmember Morgan, seconded by Councilmember Hosea. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye. Aye. Against, no. And the ayes have it. Thank you, Molly. Our next item of business is the LOSA agreement, which is the driveway to the new city center. And Rick Williams is back.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this one I'm a little more comfortable with, so. Mayor, Council, as the mayor alluded to, this is the LOSA agreement, which it's in there. I don't remember exactly what it stands for, though. It's essentially an agreement between the city and the state, allowing us to make improvements in the state right away. I have the enclosures in the packet as well. One of them is it shows the area of 2147 we're going to be doing the improvements, and then also has the cost estimate from our contract engineer for that project. This is the turn lane, decel lanes, restriping, and a little bit of pavement, which adds up to plus or minus $250,000. It is to facilitate the driveway for 2147 for the left turn lane and decel lanes, essentially. Yep. So if y'all approve this today, well, let me back up. So y'all passed a resolution at the June regular council meeting. That was to signify to TxDOT that we intended to review and enter into this agreement pending council action. So that's why we have a follow-up to this now. At this time, if you don't have any questions, we recommend authorizing the mayor to sign it pending review from the city attorney. It is a TxDOT agreement. I don't know how much flexibility we have, but they, for disclosure, Borquez has not reviewed this yet, so I would recommend they at least look at it.
Is that part of your suggestion then that we have city attorney take a look at it also?
Yes, sir, and I have that in my motion too.
Okay.
That's, and that's any contract we do, if the attorney hasn't reviewed it, I would always suggest
Right.
allow them to look at it, so.
Right. Any questions for Rick?
Just a comment.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if it clarifies anything, Rick, but
course.
according to the document, LOSA stands for Local On-System Agreement.
Yes, sir.
Again, I don't know if that clarified anything.
It does. I did not, for reasons unknown, I did not include that in my staff report, so sorry about that.
Any others? Okay, I'll entertain a motion on page 52.
I move to approve authorizing the mayor, Jeff Jones, to execute this LOSA with TxDOT, pending review and approval by the city attorney.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Fetchner. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Weatherby. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye. Aye. All against, no. The ayes have it. You got a LOSA there, Rick.
Right.
Congratulations. Okay, let's move to item E, which is our request for a variance in accordance with section 10.03.462 of the subdivision regulations that limits cut and fill outside of certain specific exceptions at Richter's Ranch. And Rick, you're up again.
Again, yes, sir. So, I wrote, this is probably the longest staff report I've written in a long time. I won't read it verbatim to you, but I will go through the high zones. I also learned a lesson from the last two slideshows, so I printed the presentation for y'all so you can see the legends better, and then we corrected the advancement. The applicant is here as well, and the applicant's engineer and legal advisor. So, the Richter Ranch preliminary subdivision plat was denied by the Horseshoe Bay City Council in November 2024 due to noncompliance with limitations on the maximum amount of cut and fill for grading. We've had several submissions by the applicant of different layouts for relief from that ordinance since then. During the October regular council meeting, council deferred action on this item this past October to the November meeting to allow the applicant to provide additional info to the council to support their decision. I didn't put all of that in a slideshow, but what they provided is in the packet as well. So the 11 by 17 printout is just the slideshow, but the other exhibits are in the packet. The applicant chose to pursue a paper lot approach, which defers responsibility for grading and clearing to future property owners when they apply for individual building permits. This was confirmed by our city attorney to be a valid legal strategy. This would eliminate most of the immediate and excessive cut and fill operations, basically those outside of the right-of-way. Those building permits would instead be subject to the applicable development standards in place at the time that the permit was sought, meaning if that hypothetically occurs 3 years from now, that building permits are pulled, it's the ordinance at the time that the permit is pulled. So if something changes, they'd be subject to those. Those future development standards might also encourage consolidation of smaller lots with superior topography to facilitate compliance, et cetera. Staff and elected officials have recently met with the project engineer to discuss challenges in topography and to provide feedback to the design team of other similar sites in the area. The applicant received that feedback and provided updated exhibits to support their assertion that compliant homes may be built in this proposed subdivision with some limitations. The applicant has also provided alternative layouts that were considered during their design phase to support how they came to the current proposed layout. Those are in there. I think there's 6 of them total, plus or minus 6 that are in there. Staff has met with the applicant exhaustively at this point and believes this is the applicant's best proposed design of the layouts that were provided. So again, when you go through the packet, there's about 6, maybe 7. Of those 7, this is, I think, the best layout they've come up with. The applicant has been responsive to the council, sorry, this is 2 pages, which is not normal for me. Request to provide additional info requested and has met with community residents regarding concerns with the hiking trail and has made some headway in public opinion in that regard. You'll remember that from the previous council meeting, the Hill Country Trekkers. If council elects to approve this variance, staff would request the conditions be included at the time of plat for a 15-foot green belt adjacent to the creek side lots in the building setbacks. And staff wants to remind council that this variance, if approved, would still require reviews and approvals from the Planning and Zoning Commission for the preliminary plat, so Planning and Zoning and then council. Then there's a construction review with city staff, that's the DRC committee, and then they would go to final plat, which is P and Z, and then council. So we will have, if, whatever y'all decide to do, there will be further review on this project. So, do y'all have any questions? Do we want to go through the slideshow, or do you want to hear from the applicant?
I had a question initially, and that
Okay.
is, because we usually don't get paper lots.
Yes, sir.
And so we're kind of going backwards on this thing in a way, but it seems as though perhaps if this this particular variance is approved, there won't be any dirt moved whatsoever until we settle the issue of the cut and fill for all of the other lots. Am I right on that?
For the, no dirt will be mostly. So for dirt to be moved, they have to have a DR, what we call a DRC major development permit. They have to, so that would be, assuming y'all approve this, they would go through preliminary plat with planning and zoning, and then with council. Then we do the actual subdivision construction review where we review in depth. They do plan and profile, water lines, sewer lines, power, roads, detention ponds, et cetera. At that point, we can issue a permit provided they provide a fiscal security of a bond. They could begin right away, or what is more common is they go to the final plat with that, and then they still bond. That allows them, in doing that, it allows them to pre-sell while they're building, and then the city has fiscal security on hand to ensure they complete the project. I will just estimate, that typically takes 6 to 9 months from the time the preliminary plat goes, usually until they break ground. It's pretty common.
But the variance before us then would not necessarily allow any reconfiguration of streets or finishing out, let's say, of infrastructure whatsoever until the construction plans are approved.
Yes, sir.
Right?
That is correct. Yes, sir. With one mild caveat, y'all are looking at a variance for this. If you approve the variance, it's within the bounds of what they have provided. So hypothetically, they could change the layout during the preliminary plat. Obviously, council would see that. But if they change it and that doesn't trigger any additional variance requirements, they could do that at the platting phase. But they still, in order to begin construction, they have to have an approved preliminary plat, approved construction documents, and fiscal security.
Okay. All right, Frank?
Did that answer?
I think so, yeah.
I think so. The way I understand this variance addresses the 2 retention ponds and that 1 street, where that's the only cut and fill that we're approving right now.
Yes, sir. Yep, this exhibit here.
So the rest of the council members understand. Show them the pond. That's, because these are pretty severe cut and fill, but there won't be any houses there. And then the 1 street at the top, right there.
There's a little bit, but mostly that one. And the project engineer is here as well, if y'all have some of these technical questions.
Aaron, once you,
So Rick, what happens if this is approved and then they bring back a construction plan or preliminary plat, and we say that that's too much cut and fill variance, and we're not in favor of that?
The construction plans we review are only for the public infrastructure, so if they were to alter and require additional cut or fill on this, they would have to come back. What they're asking for is this proposal.
Retention,
Yeah, there's like a 3%. If it changes by inches or something, obviously that would be covered. If for some reason hypothetically they decide we want to make this 10 feet deeper, they can't do that
Okay. Well, the issue that we have here is that
for the homes.
we had a big concern over there being maybe 30 lots that were going to have some significant cut and fill over and beyond what we typically allow. And that was the big heartburn. And so this does not even go that far.
We're not addressing that. We're just
Yes.
addressing.
Yeah, we're not addressing that, like he said, but there is some exhibits included in the package where we heard your concerns. We looked at that area of concern. We chose 7 lots over there and put driveways to see if they would exceed that cut and fill. Out of 7, only 1 did, and it was only exceeding it about 2 feet. That's obviously, we don't have a finished floor. We're guesstimating of what a home builder would want, but out of those 7 that we chose, only 1. Don't know if they're in there. I have extras if you guys want them a little bit more close up. But I think we talked with Rick at the time of construction plans. That's when we can dive deeper into what those driveways would look like. They're kind of paired together. Yeah.
Where are the 7 that you looked at?
Yeah. But like I was saying, we can look at the time of construction permits of diving deeper into what those rough estimated driveways are going to look like. Again, we don't have the final finished floor because they will be sold out or sold off to individual custom home builders. So we're going off the setback, we're going at adequate grades and setting what we think is ideal. But if a home builder comes in and chooses something a little bit different, talked with Rick, there might be a slight fluctuation, but nothing too drastic.
So these 7 look like they're in different areas of the property anyways.
Yes. We didn't want to put it all in one area, but we did kind of hone into this right side over there because I know that that was the biggest area of concern. Of course, as we get a little bit north of this east detention pond, that's where we have a little bit more steep slopes, but there are 2 lots, and then even directly west of that lot, we did another driveway home example.
Okay. And I'm failed to, I know who you are, but.
Yes, sorry, Erin Sandoval with WGI, representing the applicant on this one.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yes.
I think the important thing here, Jeff, is that what we're talking about on the variance right now is for the 2 ponds and some modifications
Right.
and some streets.
Right.
Now, there's going to be some serious cut and fill doing that, but these are retention ponds.
Yes.
When I spent the time with Aaron, and we drove out, we walked these things. Even if the next phase we run into an issue, I'm not saying that we would, but if we did, this still is improvement to the existing property.
Yeah.
Because of the retention ponds will help that whole drainage issue out there. So this is an upgrade to the current property, just on its own.
And then kind of like what Rick's, I thought it was a really good report. His report, we met with city staff out on site. We went with the truckers. We've already gone through extensive reviews with LCRA of, drainage infrastructure and stuff. So we talked about it last meeting. We are proposing low impact development trail system connection to the trail across the creek and such. So.
Okay. You've been at this a while, I know that. And it's been frustrating for both sides. And I appreciate
We
you
want to
working with us.
we want to make sure that everyone's happy with this, and if we didn't have this back and forth, we wouldn't have come to this new layout and such. And I do think that this new layout hits all the right corners for everybody.
Well, you're getting the feeling, I know, that Horseshoe Bay is a unique area, and we like it unique.
Yes.
So when you come back to us, we're going to be the same people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do appreciate you working with the trekkers as well.
Yes.
I really do. Anybody else?
Oh, Mary, if I may, I'll add something too. During the construction review process, if something comes up where there is a lot where after they do some of the grading, the elevation is off, I've talked to the engineers and ownership. If something comes up where they need a variance for that lot, I think they're probably open to discussing that at the time that we discover it. Is that
Yes.
fair to?
Again, it would be a little bit closer into that DRC review. Once we get in there, we can look at all the lots and what those driveways for those lots would look like. Talked with Rick, again, small fluctuation, but none of the home builders should come and ask for an outrageous cut and fill variance. We would handle it, but they would be within those limitations, because again, we don't have that finished floor to give them that.
Okay. We have 3 citizens who have signed up to speak about this. And the first is going to be Jeff Simmons. Are you still here? There you are.
Hello, Jeff Simmons. My wife and I reside on Mountain Dew. I've been before the council speaking in opposition. I think this came up at the last council meeting that, you know, the developer initially asked for a full variance on the development, and it was turned down. And now they've come back and asked for bite-sized variances. Give us a variance on this first piece. You don't have to give it on the rest. Well, I think we all know that whether that's developer, 1, 5, 50 builders, they will scream foul if you say no to the variance, because you gave the first variance request knowing what the development would look like. And I'm pretty sure those detention ponds are designed for that full build-out. So I'm in opposition. I believe recently I've had other neighbors reach out to Rick that are opposed to this variance request, and we hope you just don't take the first bite and don't approve this first variance. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Simmons. Appreciate that. Marilyn Campbell, going to speak on the same thing. Hi, Marilyn.
Hello, Marilyn Campbell. I live on Mountain Dew also. The first time I voiced my disapproval was over a year ago. And at that time, I quoted parts of the 2005 City Comprehensive Plan, and I'm going to remind the council what those are. Facilitate the utilization of undeveloped property in the city and encourage public input. It also states the city should be alert for opportunities to expand amenities that would benefit all property owners and guests. The long-range plan of 2023, communicate and support identity of city as a healthy living community with priority on small town and environmental sustainability. The public lands that we've had a vote, and it was rated for a 9 to keep green space. And that was all the public that voted that you took a survey. Most of the proposed lots are going to be difficult to build on. They're going to be expensive. And one thing that nobody's mentioned, it's going to be in the flight pattern. And there are a lot of jets coming in and out, and there's going to be even more jets coming in and out as we grow. And if I were looking for a lot, I would not look at something that's going to be under the flight path and expensive to build on, because there are a lot of other lots around here that are a lot easier and less expensive. So if you approve this, going forward, a lot of trees are going to be torn down. The infrastructure around Horseshoe Creek is, I know that the hiker said, yes, it's okay. And it is given a lot more, but the whole habitat area around there is going to be changed. It's unique to this city, and once you start messing with it, you can't replace it. And that's why I'm against it.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. Ellen Anguish. Hi, Ms. Anguish.
Ellen Anguish. I also live on Mountain Dew, so we are not just citizens, we are residents. I live right there at Grassy Knoll and Mountain Dew, right where they want to start their progress. I know they reached out to the trekkers and tried to come with some compromise. They have not reached out to those residents that live there, that have property there, that are going to be affected by, and they put in these detention ponds that, say we get another rainfall like we did in October of 18, and all of that water is going to flow towards the lake down where we live damaged our property that we were talking earlier about the lady that came in and said they had to build retention walls because of the floods this past summer. That's the position we're going to be in. We're going to be looking for that 2% loan. And nobody has considered the situation they're putting us in as homeowners and property owners. So anyway, I agree with Jeff and Marilyn. Please do not allow this. If it was 50 acres, 8 properties, or 8 homes like the previous that was just approved, we can work with that. But 123 homes on 50 acres, it doesn't fit with what Marilyn said. That doesn't fit with the growth of the vision that Horseshoe Bay has and the community that we love living in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would the applicant or Rick like to speak to her point there?
About the flooding?
The water, the retention ponds.
Yeah, so with that, we've gone through, like I said, LCRA review. These detention ponds are actually capturing and treating the water. So the water that is going to be, for lack of a better word, coming out of that pond will be cleaner water, and it is going to be discharging at the same rate as it would be in existing conditions. So we cannot adversely impact any surrounding neighbors. The way that it is designed right now, that is why it's so extensively deep, because there's so much water coming and collecting on our site and discharging into that creek. So what essentially is you fill up a bucket and you have a little spout and it's slowly creeping back into the creek. So it's not going to adversely impact, destroy a neighbor's land. Directly adjacent to our property is Horseshoe Bay Creek. There is not another resident along that property boundary, which is where our water would be discharging. Again, we can't adversely impact a neighbor regardless of who it is, but there are no direct residents right behind and directly adjacent to these ponds.
These are quarter-acre lots?
Correct. And bigger, yes, that's the smallest.
I want to restate something I said before to make sure there's clarification. The way these retention ponds will go in will actually be a net benefit. It will reduce the potential of flooding. They're more at risk now with flooding if it remains, but with these retention ponds, it will control that water flow. So if we have an event like we had in 18, where anybody could get flooded, this will prevent that from happening. So this is an upside. I said that, I want to make sure you understand, I see this first variance as a net plus for the community because of these retention ponds. Now, again, when they come back for the next phase of this, that's where we'll take harder looks at things. But this first, what we're asking right now is a net improvement to the existing community, and from a standpoint of controlling water flow.
Could I ask a question about that?
Please do.
So the retention ponds are designed with full development in mind?
Correct,
In
yes.
other words, once all the concrete driveways and homes and all those
Correct.
impervious structures are in place?
Whatever that number's going to be, we
Yes.
don't know. The number's thrown out
Could be
at
it.
23, but I'll be very surprised if we even get close to that number. But again, I want to restate that this variance we're talking about right now is a net improvement for that area.
Well, it would seem with no further development, it's definitely going to be a net improvement if
Yes,
it's designed to
if
handle
nothing happened, it's better than
100 homes.
it's better than what it currently is with these retention ponds, because it will minimize potential flooding. I don't want to ever see us go through something like we went through in 18.
The grassy knoll street,
Yes.
it's there now, but you're gonna, I know it's not asphalted,
Yeah.
but you're gonna push it a little bit further north?
So we're keeping it in line with those existing residents since they have current access off of it, but right now it doesn't achieve fire safety or city code. So we are going to widen that pavement. We're going to be putting in drainage infrastructure on the side, capturing that water, putting it to the pond. And the cul-de-sac that we're going to be proposing is for fire safety.
How far is that? Give me a rough estimate. Is
The
that-
street?
Yeah.
Probably over 200 feet. I know 150 is like adequate for turnaround, without providing a turnaround. So it's definitely over 150.
So in terms of disturbance to the community, 200 feet of engineering and asphalting.
Yes, and then again, what this variance is for is not for the street. We're able to maintain the street in the cut and fill that it needs to.
Right.
It's tying back in to existing grades, so we don't ruin the vegetation, because that's where we are doing these paper lots, because we want a custom home builder to come in, look at the lot, see the trees. Trekkers also made it a very good point of they're gonna come in and show the beauties of trees to the future home buyers, and have them kind of be creative with how they're gonna develop those lots.
Well, and going forward, we all know that, because we talked about it last time, on 10,000 square foot lots, a 4,000 square foot house is going to take up almost half of that lot. Yeah, and so we're going to,
Because of the driveway, you gotta remember the driveways.
we're going to have some serious discussions about that.
And I think Rick had mentioned this does not solidify the lot lines that you're seeing right now. By the time we go to preliminary plat, if these questions come up again, we can kind of dive deeper into this. As it was mentioned in the presentation, we've been at this for over a year. We're just trying to get you guys into that next stage, because we're not at that stage yet. Get this variance approved, update all of our forms, our construction documents, so then we can provide you guys that a little bit more like the driveways, more in-depth design of what that's going to be looking like, if variances are going to be coming up or not.
Rick, do you agree with Frank on the fact, even if nothing is built there, this is a plus for the land? Because I'm worried about these neighbors too.
For the stormwater, I do, and I'll speak a little bit out of my expertise. This is a little bit into the engineering, but our drainage criteria manual makes some assumptions on what impervious cover, or basically cover that water hits and sheds instead of absorbing. Realistically, there is some grass and vegetation on this, but a lot of this is dolomite rock, which is impervious. Maybe from an engineering calc, they say some of it will absorb in. It really doesn't. A lot of it is functioning similar to concrete, not all of it, but some of it. So adding this, it'll even if it were to overflow, completely fill up and overflow, it'll still overflow in the existing channel as it exists now. So you're just adding a detention basin, essentially. There's some water quality components too that'll clean the water and convey it downstream so that it's not entering the lake as polluted. But retention ponds in general are always going to improve regardless of what the situation is. Agnostic to this request, anytime anybody proposes a retention pond, staff is going to say that's good. It helps with a known issue in Horseshoe Bay, which is flooding. I mean, the residents spoke to that. That is true. When we have these flash flood events, that water hits the rock essentially and just kind of goes everywhere. So I'll ad lib a little bit too with what they're talking about with the lot lines. I'm just going to pick on this one. You see these tree canopies here?
Yes.
It may be that when they go through this, they decide instead of having 3 lots, they split that one to save the trees, and it's 2 lots. Things like that won't affect the variance because, it's just this frontage here. So the lot lines could change outside of this variance.
Okay.
But that's, at the time of plat, y'all would see that again, and planning and zoning as well.
For y'all that have a lot more experience, I believe it was Jeff that mentioned my words, a concern for precedent. What are thoughts, Rick, in terms of, for these variances, which would seem to be more infrastructure related than home building, but is there a concern for precedent?
Again,
In terms
speak
of
outside a little
approving a
bit.
variance?
From a legal standpoint, there is not a precedent set from variance. This is discretionary, and the attorney said yes, so yeah. Obviously, in the political sphere, sure. I mean, if y'all approve something, yes, y'all could receive political pressure, but from a legal standpoint, there's no precedent set. There's a lot of engineering and circumstances that go into this, whether y'all approve it or deny it. And I will be honest, you know, the public improvements, there exists a plan that staff would say, okay, we have retention ponds. For the home builders, to me, as a staff perspective, on open record, if they prove that there's a house that can be built on that lot with no variance, Board of Adjustments likely will not approve it. I don't want to speak for them. But if there is a configuration that exists, they're not going to allow them to deviate from that without a really good reason. And that would be our advice to council too. So when the homes come in, I think they're not doing something for the public good. They're not building a retention pond. They're building a home. So
This is a tip of the iceberg of our discussion then.
yes.
It's, again, I'll say it again, it's the first bite of the apple, and I understand the one gentleman's, and it's correct. But I look at this variance as a net plus for that area because of the retention ponds. It will, if we have a 2018 event, there's nothing there. It's just going to happen. With these retention ponds, it won't flood. So that's what I want council to think of in terms of at least this first thing. The next ones, as we get deeper into this thing, I mean, I'm not saying anything I didn't tell Aaron before. I guarantee that when this thing is over and done, it'll probably end up less than 100 homes. Because some of these, like you said, between the tree canopy, the builder, and it's going to be up to who the builders are. But this is the first step. And if this wasn't a net positive for this area, I would be against it. I am now for it because of these retention ponds. This is good for that area, no matter what happens going forward.
And you went out and walked the property
Yes,
and
I've walked it.
one last, sorry, I'm new, so
Oh, no,
I'm
it's
asking
okay.
lots of questions. If there were no variance for the retention ponds, what's the downside? What's the impact?
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't put 'em in?
Can you highlight the concern area? Sorry, go back one. You would probably be looking at all of this area being 4 feet of a detention pond. Per LCRA code, we have to provide water quality. Water quality in this area, if you're not going to be paying a jellyfish filter or something, you're going to have a pond. And to not exceed that 4 feet, you're looking at a massive footprint of that pond.
So it might be 2 or 3 times the size is what we
Yes.
see on
Yes,
the
yeah.
surface.
Correct.
How would you feel about doing that?
You know, it was previously mentioned that these ponds are already going to be an eyesore. I think that would be a little bit more of an eyesore, given that the ponds right now are located, one, where it's a natural low point, and two, it's away from the current right-of-ways and tree lines and stuff, yeah.
Anybody else? Rick, do you have anything else?
Just to reiterate what I said too, you know, there's still more review to be done with this. I would, when we get into the construction review, that it will be something, we don't normally come back to council. Likely I will have a presentation when we get into that point and relay, you know, what's going on as far as the
And
homes
you
and all
think
if
that
y'all
won't
approve.
be less than 6 months then?
It'll be at the very best, they could go, if y'all approve this, they could get on the January planning and zoning, and then the February council meeting, and then we would go into construction review. So you're looking at probably April or May at the earliest, would be my guess. Yeah.
Sandra's
She did tuck me,
exercising
so
her good
she-
arm.
She said with a subdivision this big, it's likely closer to February.
Okay.
P and Z, so we're looking at late spring likely before construction review.
Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion if anybody wants to give a motion on this.
I'll take a swag at it. Because we're going through multiple bites of this apple, I move that we approve this variance that includes the retention ponds and the adjustment of a couple of these streets, with full knowledge that we're going to get another look at this once they have a construction format.
You have any language?
I don't have, well, I can read this. The subdivision variance request in accordance with section 10.03.462 of the Horseshoe Bay City Code, with the condition that the buildable area of the lot is accounted for in any preliminary plat for single-family residential lots, and that any further subdivision variances for the single-family resident lots be considered primary to preliminary plat approval. Basically, we're saying we're going to get another look at this thing after this variance.
I'm not sure I understand the motion. Can you put that in a motion form for us?
No. Easier said than done. I want to approve the variances they've requested with the condition, with this condition that I just put in.
Okay.
Which it basically is saying, we're going to approve the retention ponds, and then before we approve a preliminary plat, they got to come back and present us where the driveways will be, how they would subdivide this thing. Because I'm very concerned for the community on what this looks like. But again, I want to reiterate, these retention ponds are a net positive for that whole area, just by the, just.
Okay, I can't repeat that motion, but you,
I can't either.
the motion has been made by Councilmember Hosea to approve the variance request with the limitation that,
We get another look at it before preliminary.
that it's only for the retention ponds at this point and grassy knoll, and nothing else at this point. Is that a fair assessment of your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second to that motion? Councilmember Weatherby seconds the motion. Any further discussion by council?
Does that include the 15-foot green belt?
That's in the variance, is it not?
That is how I presented it.
Yes. It's how it's presented by, which has,
They didn't say
it has all the other things, without me reciting every bit of what this two-page report is. I'm trying to do it as based on what Rick submitted with the addition of the final approval on the pre-plots. Also, what we're doing is, again,
I know, but the trail system down there at the
yes,
bottom.
that's all part of what
That's part of it.
presented in the county.
And it's on a, I don't know, do you know what page my staff report? Can he
What's
amend
the,
his?
what's the motion? We can amend the motion.
Okay.
I think I'm not sure if I've turned on.
It's on page 65.
Okay.
Without restating everything in Rick's report, which covers the greenbelt area, the setbacks, all the things we've talked about, that he talked about when he explained that. So I just tried to summarize it as easily as possible, that we're just approving this variance for the retention ponds and the grassy knoll, plus everything else that's in Rick's report that they've agreed to.
You're amending your motion to say that?
I'm trying to make it as
No,
simple
no,
as
no,
possible.
no, I think what you said is a good motion.
Okay, that's fine.
Amended motion made by Councilmember Hosea. Do we have a second to the amended motion? Councilmember Weatherby seconds it. Now do we have additional discussion to the amended motion? None hearing. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Thank you, guys.
That brings us to the consent agenda. And on the consent agenda, is there any items on the consent agenda that the council members would like to be taken off and discussed individually? Okay, let's, can I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda then?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Hosea makes the motion. Second, anyone? Mr. Morgan seconds it. Any discussion? Vote aye for aye. Aye, okay. Consent agenda passes. Monthly reports. Do we have any city council monthly reports from liaison reports? Oh, did I skip something?
No, monthly report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like to report on the city center project being developed, and we are on track to take control of that building in December 20th specifically, if all the inspections go by. We will then spend another 20, 30 days to getting our furniture in there and getting everything set up, and then we'll actually be in that. And then we were looking at a open house probably sometime in early February that will bring in the community to walk to with us being staffed. So that's liable to be coming down the pipe, so look forward to that. We are very happy that the building is coming in where it is on the budget and on the time. And there was a lot of hard work, including a lot of design work all the way through construction. Cynthia was on that design team, and there was a lot of work that went into pinching pennies and making sure we got a good practical building, and it's about done. So very happy about that. And also to mention that our 20th anniversary party that we had went off really good. We've heard nothing but a lot of good comments from a lot of folks, from the vendors all the way through to our citizens on how it went, and how smooth some of the transitions went to getting people from the parking lots to there. We were fortunate that God opened up a window for us, and we were able to use that dirt parking lot and not get a lot of people stuck in it. But we did make it through that, and we had a great program. The vendors all said they were treated better than any other event, and we look to have many more of those in the future. But I just want to tell y'all that we're still having after action on that and looking at ways we can improve that in the future.
Jeff, I want to also say, Buck and I had a hand in this.
Yes, y'all did.
Your staff was incredible for us. I mean, they volunteered, they worked hard, they stayed overtime, they were diligent, and that spoke volumes. It really did. We appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I will say the same thing. We have a very devoted staff to this community. The community is very appreciative to the staff, and so it's a two-way street. So we're happy to do it, and anything we do is going to be at that same standard. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Now let's go to council member liaison reports. Anybody have a liaison report that they'd like to? Mr. Morgan.
I was invited by Chief Fowler to attend a training session that he had out at Ferguson plant, where they simulated a victim being trapped inside the plant, and they had to go in there in a 4-foot section, get this person stabilized on a gurney, tied down and brought down to the steps. And it was a cooperative mission with several fire departments involved. And it was just amazing to see the cooperation between the different departments and the expertise of the training that went on. It makes me feel very good that if that situation ever happened, that we're in good hands.
Thank you. Wonderful. Chief Fowler, is he here? No. Oh, okay. Now there she is, Stephanie.
Stephanie was there also.
Good, good. Thank you for that. And Rick, you want to talk to us about Stargaze and how that went?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the Stargazer. So, as you know, part of our dark sky recognition is we have to hold, I think it's two informational sessions throughout the year on the dark sky. So usually one of them is they'll do a handout. The keynote one that we do, though, is the stargazing party. I was told I couldn't attend that one. I've got a middle schooler and he had a football game in Gatesville, so I had to duck early, but Jeff was there. But I hear there were between 30 and 40 attendees.
It's about
Yeah.
40,
Yeah.
40
So,
plus, yeah.
if you've not gone to it, we do a great job. I think Cindy does an excellent job working with the department on advertising for it and getting it out to the community. The Austin Astronomy, however you say it, Astronomy Society, astrological, thank you. They come out and they bring some telescopes that are really interesting. So even if that's not really your thing, it's cool to go out. This year they had excellent weather, so it was a nice clear sky, and they were able to see quite a bit. So it's really interesting what you can see when you lose the light pollution that's indicative of larger cities and places a lot of our residents came from. So,
Okay.
yeah, it was good though, good
Mayor,
turnout.
I'd like to also say, even after that event, we've produced a couple of articles on how to solve light pollution, because that seems to be a big issue as we grow. And so there's been articles that Cindy has written that have kind of added to that. So we're really trying to reach out to the community and talk about light pollution and the way that the lights should be focused down and not just kind of broadly. That's where we have the pollution. So
Right.
we continue to try to keep our community the way it is, and even as we grow, because that is one of the things that really makes our community special.
It's huge. It really is huge. Okay. Well, we've got an executive session. Before our executive session, one of the issues that we have for the council to resolve, which we will do in open hearing, is that our city secretary has requested to appear in our executive session. And it is up to you all to decide who and where someone appears in our executive session. And so you're going to have to discuss that and decide whether you would allow the city secretary to appear in the executive session or not. I have actually told our city secretary that my opinion is she should give us some written documentation as they exist to the information that she knows is on the agenda, and we would consider that in the executive session. But she does have a right to an open hearing if she exercises that. So I need to have the council decide, and you can discuss it as well, whether we allow the city secretary to appear in person at our executive session, which would be coming up subsequent. Anybody have any thoughts?
I have no problem with that.
Well, I'll entertain any kind of motion.
I move that we allow the city secretary to present information during the executive session.
Councilmember Weatherby makes the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Councilmember Fetchner seconds it. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All against, no. The ayes have it. We will now go into executive session at 4:43 to discuss the following matters. Number one, appointment of members to the Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment pursuant to personnel matters, Texas Government Code 551.074, to discuss that.